Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to see you. I am literally sitting here trying to. I am in Orlando at my sister's home, and I'm sitting at her computer in an effort to make sure that we are signed on and ready to go. And of course, her computer and I didn't get along. So that's why I'm a few minutes late. Today, we are going to be talking about sexy assets. And that is those of you that know me very well know that my number one favorite word on earth is assets, followed by royalties, followed by leverage. So assets, royalties, leverage. Those are my favorite words. And I'm very excited today to really be talking about assets because the one common thing in the world as it relates to wealth, no matter what country you live in, no matter what language you speak in, the most common thing everyone has is assets. And so many times we're so concerned about our income. We're so concerned about our salary. And there's something called Henry's, high earners, not rich yet. Because as people start making a lot of money, whether they're in sales or whether they're in careers where they have a paycheck and they get promoted, as your income goes up, so do your expenses. And so the reason people become wealthy is that they learn how to buy, build, or create assets. Say it, assets should be your new favorite word because it is mine. And hi, Lisa. Yes, cows are assets. She's been to my ranch. And in fact, on my Cherry Creek Lodge Facebook, we've got pictures. We have some new baby calves coming out. My husband is out there at our ranch, cherrycreeklodge.com, moving our cows from one pasture to another. And I got so excited because I got to see some of our new babies. Hi, Karen. Hi, Joanna. I'm so glad you guys are with me. But this is all about your desire to get rich. And we talk about income producing assets. And so as you go through life and you have your cash flow, we want you to think about cash flow, not from your efforts, but from assets that you buy, build, or create. Now, yesterday, I was really honored. I'm in Florida. I was asked by Florida State University, my alma mater, to come speak to its business school students. What an incredible room, standing room only. I'm so excited about the future. These young men and women were incredible. And the biggest laugh I got was when I was saying, when you reach the age of 60, sexy has more to do with the size of your balance sheet than the other assets that you might have. And it was hysterical. I thought it was pretty funny. They all liked that very much. But it's true. Your life will be determined on your ability to sustain your level of living. And that's something that is very important for me. And it's very important for me to help people understand and to teach, because the more you can do today, as these young people came out, they said, maybe how do I get started? Well, you get started by starting to take action. And you take action by starting to pay attention to the revenue streams and how you can re-employ those streams into assets that will also create income. I often say it's not what you do for your paycheck, it's what you do with your paycheck that counts. And that's something that's the sooner and the earlier we can learn that, the more quickly we'll get to the point where we will be financially free. Hello, Samirian. Wonderful to see you. And I thank you, Lisa, for saying I'm still sexier, but all of us need to think about how we want to live our future life. And many of you may be saying, easy for her to say. Well, I started off with nothing. I started off with my first job was that of a waitress, but I learned how to start saving money and then how to have it start working for me. Well, same, thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you, and Mary and Tracy. I'm just thrilled that you're all with me. And Barbara, oh, wonderful. Wonderful to see you, Barbara. Thank you for joining us. But the whole concept of today's talk, and I have a lot of questions that came in, because one of the ways that Rich Dad Poor Dad got so popular so quickly was people got offended because we said your house is not an asset. And the reason we wanted to make that kind of bold in your face statement is that when you're building your wealth, instead of buying a bigger house, start investing in other assets that generate revenue to you. Because there's one thing when you have a bank, yes, of course, you list your balance sheets and you list your assets, your golf clubs, your cars, your home. But when you really are looking from an investment's sake, you say assets generate revenue, liabilities take revenue. And so which one is your house? Okay, your house isn't really generating revenue unless you're renting it out. It's a rental house and your tenants are paying them and you rent that exceeds your expenses, then that is a definite asset. And the sooner we can understand that, because most of us are our only asset. We start off, we get out of college, or we start our first job out of high school, and we're making money. But that money comes from us working, getting out of bed and going to a job, or going to do, earning commission, living on commission. And so we get into this rat race, on the rat on the wheel, and knowing that we have to continually work in order to make money. And the way to get off that rat race is to start having revenue from other places. And that's from assets that you acquire, buy, or build, or create. And those assets include businesses, whether it's a small online business or a big business that you build. Assets include retirement assets, paper assets, bonds, stocks, mutual funds. It includes things like intellectual property. All right, which is the number one asset today, is what you create right here, those 6 inches between your ears, where you can create ebooks or real books, you can do blogs, you can create, solve problems. The most successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need. All of those create assets that can live on without you. And so that you want your money creating you. And the second book I wrote in the Rich Dad series is called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And on the left side of the cash flow quadrant is ES, and on the right side is VI. The left side stands for employee or self-employed, and that's what school teaches us. And that's us working for money. And on the right side is B and I. B stands for big business, and I stands for investor. And that's where you have other people's money, other people's time, other people's resources, and your investments working for you. So on the left side of the quadrant, you really are limited in how much you can make by the amount of time you have. On the right side, your income is infinite. It's totally unlimited because those assets are working for you. It's as if they're your employees. So I say every time you put money in a savings account or an investment or in an asset, that's your employee working for you. And the more that grows, the more that income will cover your expenses. So the definition of being financially free is when your passive income that's coming in from your assets, exceeds your monthly expenses, you are financially free. And so it doesn't have to be multi-million dollars. It can be, if you have your living expenses at $100,000 a year, if you make $100,000 in passive income, you're financially free. And that's something that's very, very doable through rental real estate or other investment opportunities. But a lot of people today are doing it by creating online businesses. And that's something that can generate revenue while you sleep. A lot of people are also doing coaching and mentoring. That is you working though. That's on the left side of the quadrant. You as a self-employed or a superstar, we call it, doctors, lawyers. You're limited to how much money you can make by how much time, how many hours you can bill. And so focus on your personal situation and think about which quadrant is your money coming from. Now, as I sit here today, I make money from all 4 quadrants. I'm an employee of my own corporation. I'm self-employed and I'm a speaker. So it's my time on stage I get paid for. But I own multiple businesses that generate revenue, whether I'm there or not. My cows are up back in Arizona making money for me, and my investments are continuing to make money for me. So as long as I'm making sufficient money on the right side of the quadrant as a business owner and investor, then I am financially free. The left side I do out of love love and what I do, and I want to continue working as long as I can to support people. And this whole Play Big Again movement was a decision that I made to get back out there. And as I've shared on an earlier thing, 5 years ago when I lost my son, everything just kind of stopped for me. And I became very reactive. I was not very proactive. Like I'd always played big in my other companies. And this year, in fact, I just was on the phone with Greg Reed, and I have to call him and tell him this because he said, Sharon, when I was in San Diego last week, he said, everybody you just seem so relaxed and calm, and it was such a compliment. It really actually made me think about it. And I think, and this is the first time I'm sharing this with anybody, so you're all here hearing me. I think it just dawned on me that losing my son, you have a lot of guilt and sadness, and you feel like you did something wrong. And I think making that decision to get back in the game allowed me to forgive myself. And it took a lot of weight off my shoulders, and I'm kind of still emotional about the whole thing, and I'm miss him every day, but I do feel lighter, and I do feel more focus, more clarity about what I want to do in the future. But Greg is the one that kind of, through a compliment, actually opened my eyes to make me think about the fact that I am feeling a little lighter, and I do feel more comfortable, and I feel like I have a goal again, and I'm going to play big again. So I'm very excited about that. And I love it. Oh, Shiv, thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate your comments. Thank you. You've been hearing me on Outwitting the Devil. Yeah, people say I hear you're in my bedroom every night. Kind of funny. But I share that with you because it was something that just came over me as we're driving back from Tallahassee to Winter Park last night in the car. And I was on the phone with Greg. It was like, why would that be? Because I've been hearing that from several people. And I think that's it. So is there something in your life that you need to forgive yourself for? Because it really, I can feel the lightness, and I can feel more focus. And again, in the whole Play Big movement, we're talking about becoming focused on being number one in your field, and living your legacy, not waiting for it to be after you're gone, and then creating maximum impact. And it's something that tomorrow I actually head down to Miami to be on Grant Cardone's show, Power Players. And so I've been thinking about it because he's so strong, and he's so high energy. And I go, this is going to be an interesting. I think I'm going to talk to him about how power can be quiet. You don't have to be loud and on high gear all the time. So it's interesting, all this, I'm doing a lot of cerebral work this week, but it's kind of interesting to redefine what's important to me, and to also think about what does success look like? What does success look like to me? It doesn't have to be the same as it might look like to you. But at the end of the day, true success is being financially free. So I'm coming back to sexy assets. I'm sorry, I got off track there a little bit, but I did want to share that with you. And I think it's important for each of us to sit back and be honest with ourselves. Where are you in assets? How many assets do you have? And before I keep mumbling, I want to actually, because we have quite a few questions, so I want to get into these. Here's some of them. My name is Tabitha, and I'm from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Oh my goodness. You have a few cowboys around there too, your cows. Growing up, I learned that home ownership was one of the most important investments to make. However, I've read different philosophies on whether my home is an asset or a liability. In what instance would it be considered an asset versus a liability? Well, one of the things that I want to share with you, Tabitha, is that, and this is something, as I shared with you just a few minutes ago in Rich Dad Poor Dad, we talked about your house is not an asset. There's cash flow and there's appreciation. So you make money from real estate as in the hopes that that piece of real estate will appreciate over time. And that's how many people got themselves in trouble with their homes, because they keep buying a bigger home, expecting that in a few years they could, upgrade to a bigger house because they have appreciation in the value. And then we know that a lot the real estate market crash, all of a sudden people woke up and their homes were worth half of what they were the day before. And so a lot of people ended up going from having a nice net worth to having a zero or negative net worth because of a drop in value. So I want you to focus on cash flow. For the purpose of creating and building your wealth today, that cash flow, having assets generating revenue for you, help you continue growing. You are, we talk about your profit is made when you buy, not when you sell. And so when you count on that profit being when you sell, that means you're banking on appreciation. That's not in your control. If you buy something, let's say you buy a piece of rental real estate and it's a $200,000 property and it's generating a positive cash flow for you. Let's say it's $5,000 a month. And that $5,000, even if the real estate market valuation drops that home from 200 to 100, your tenant's still paying you and you're still paying your mortgage. So you're still getting that cash flow, even though the valuation has gone down. So if you look at your assets from a standpoint of return on investment, cash flow, it doesn't mean that you can't have other investments that you invest in on appreciation. Sometimes my husband and I will invest in raw land. Well, that raw land we're investing in the future value going up. But that's not how we built our wealth. That's how we hold our wealth. So understand the difference between building your wealth and holding your wealth. So if you invest everything into your home and it's not giving you any income, then you're still having to run really hard to make sure you pay your mortgage payment every month and you're not getting any help from it. So stay in the smaller home. Use those raises, use that increase in your salary and other revenue that comes in to buy an investment real estate property or to start a business on the side that will also generate revenue. So hopefully to the point where that revenue from your assets one day will exceed your own salary and exceed your expenses so that you can continue working if you choose to, not because you have to. And thank you, Angela. I'm so happy that you're still with me. Thank you. She was coaching me from afar as I was having my technology challenges today. Karen, thank you. Yes, I love that too. I've been thinking power can be quiet. Power, it's interesting whenever I'm doing an interview. I'm getting on a tangent again, but whenever I'm doing an interview, I always look and see how that individual has done other interviews, just so I understand a little bit more where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I think it's important that we know that we have the opportunity to really study and know how we want to show up. All right. And if you don't study ahead of time, then you're kind of at the mercy of not really knowing what to expect. And so do your homework. Always do your homework. So let's go on to assets. I hope that helps you, Tabitha. Long term, you of course want your home to appreciate, but it's not helping you on your issues today. So think about looking for assets that can generate revenue today. And then obviously you'll be thrilled and happy if your home value goes up. But if your home value goes up and you just flip it into a bigger house, you're still creating a bigger liability with your mortgage. You're not really supporting yourself by having additional revenue streams. So I want you to look at cash flow. All right, my name is Peter, and I'm an independent sales representative serving the technology industry. I earn a high income, but is dependent upon my own personal production. My oldest child is learning about entrepreneurship in school. Yay! Oh, wow, where are you? You don't tell me where you live. That's great. And he recently came home and asked if my business is a real asset or not, because I have to work to earn money. What is your position on this topic? I don't want to discount the value of what I do in his eyes, but I also want him to understand the difference between what I do and someone who builds a team of people that work in their business. So, great question. Many entrepreneurs start out as solopreneurs. And so initially what you do is you own a job. And the goal is to create that business with the right corporate foundation, all right, the right entity, and then build in your business systems so that when you create that success, that you can make it scalable. Because without systems, you can't scale. And so, your son may be seeing right now that you are a solopreneur because you own a job, not a business. But as let him advise you. He's got an entrepreneurship class. Talk about him, share with him how you are building in that structure so that you can build this into an asset one day. Because the concept of whether you own a job or whether you own a business is this. Ask yourself, if I can I leave my business for 6 months and come back and have it stronger than it is today? And if the answer is yes, fabulous, because you've got a business, an asset that's working for you. If the answer is, oh, no way, I mean, my business would fall apart if I'm not there, you probably own a job and you're still in that building phase. But start building the foundation and building the systems that will help you grow and leverage. Next question. Hello, Sharon. The other thing is, I want to go back to this one. When you have children, being an entrepreneur is a great way to teach your children about assets. Teach them and show them what you're doing, because they'll have tremendous pride in you. So involve them in your business. And now the tax laws are very supportive of you having your business and hiring your kids to help you in the business. Just make sure they're actually doing the work. Don't make it handouts. Hello, Sharon. My name is Jonathan, and I'm writing from New South Wales in Australia. Ooh, I haven't been there yet. Love to come one day. Does an investment have to generate monthly or recurring revenue to be considered a true asset? What if you take on debt to invest and you're holding on to it for appreciation, but get no monthly income? Okay, this goes back. Thank you so much for that question, because it goes back. Let's, as we recap, we talk about with Tabitha about her home not generating revenue, and then Peter building a business. We talk about your question, Jonathan, and again, we get into good debt versus bad debt. Good debt is debt that allows you to buy assets. But when you're building wealth, that cash flow is going to help you continue building. But if you invest in something that's not generating any income, then that portion of your net worth is stationary, with the hope that one day it will provide value. And if you're buying that's not generating any revenue, but you have a loan against it, that means you're out of pocket paying on that loan every month with no offsetting income. And that some people choose to do that, but if you get to that point, make sure you have plenty of other revenue producing assets that cover that. All right, there's nothing wrong with long-term investments. As I said, my husband will invest in land, knowing that it will appreciate and be of greater value in the future. But we're not counting on that. That's money that we kind of lock away. We know that that's the long-term play. And it's not costing us money every month. It's just sitting there. We know that money's there and it's going to increase in value. And if you have something like that where you're going to have a loan against it, make sure you understand the monthly out of pocket, because in essence, if you look at it from a what is it today, so it's taking money out of your pocket. So it's more of a liability because it's not generating revenue. Might look good on a net worth statement, but how easy is it to sell? So for instance, this land that we buy, we know it's not something that we can liquidate very easily. It's a long-term play. So we know that it's there, and we know that in 5 to 10 years, we anticipate that we will make a profit from that. But that's not how we build our wealth. That's how we hold our wealth, knowing that in the future that will increase. But again, when you're in the building phase, cash flow is very, very important. And I would recommend that you think about building cash flow. So I hope that answers your question, Jonathan. My name is Elise. I live in Germany, and I am part of a network marketing organization. I bet I have a few of you on the line. I started just 4.5 months ago and have started building my team, as well as selling directly to customers. While my income level now is fairly low, I can see the opportunity. Good. There is so much negativity surrounding network marketing out there. Do you believe that network marketing provides an opportunity to build an asset? Well, network marketing allows you to build a business. It depends on the company whether you can truly call it an asset, because some companies will allow you to leave your business to your children. Others don't. When you're in network marketing, it's a great way to build passive income, but it's also hard work. You have to invest the time and energy to build your network marketing business. But it is also like franchising. It's a way for you to get into build a system, a business, because those systems have already been created for you. So you just join the existing systems. A lot of the back office stuff is already done for you. And years ago, you used to have to take inventory. That doesn't even happen anymore with the internet and everything. So it's never been easier to start a network marketing business. Always review the compensation plan and make sure that your network marketing company has really good training. It's a great way for you to learn how to sell, how to overcome objections, and also the networking, being able to be in that environment of people that are excited about what they're doing. So you get a lot of support, a lot of team around you that really cares about you and wants you to continue to grow. And so there's nothing wrong with network marketing, but it is not easy. It's hard work, and you want to believe in the company, in the product, and your team, both your upline. Make sure they're there to support you, and then that you also are there to support the people you bring into the business. All right, here we go. Rodney here, and I currently live in Pennsylvania. Hello, Mary. I saw you just joined. And Teresa, my sister-in-law. Yay. Thank you. I've dedicated the last year to read and educate myself and to understand the importance of investing in assets. Good for you, Rodney. However, I don't have a huge amount of cash sitting in a savings account waiting to be invested. I'm a single dad, and my priority is providing my kids with what they need. Yes, unfortunately, it does not leave me with much. How can I start to invest in assets when I have such a small amount of extra money left over at the end of each month? Well, Rodney, I just applaud you for being a great dad and also being aware. The first thing is awareness and dedication. And this one, I would almost say, think about how you can create a business on the side that involves your kids. You have 3 children. You don't tell me what their ages are, but get them involved, and you can start building an asset on the side, a small business, but you can also start educating them. And the gift of financial education is the gift of a lifetime. So you have a huge opportunity here to find something that allows you to start, whether it be network marketing or a franchise or something that you do on your own online. There's so many ways for you, plug-in systems that you can use to start doing online businesses. And maybe even with your kids. I had a friend several years ago that he took his kids, he went to events in Arizona with his kids and sold, he had the license, he got a permit, but they sold bottled water, and they were making $1,000 every weekend profit. And so it was a great way for him to teach his kids and for them to earn some extra money. Here, next question. Thank you very much, Rodney. I bet some of you are in that same situation where you think about, you have small kids and you don't have a lot of extra time. You might have a little extra money, but what do I do? And so just like Rodney, think about how you can involve your children in supporting that. This is Jose, and I would love to ask about timing on liquidated assets. We are currently looking at placing my dad in a care home, or having someone come in to care for him. His most liquid assets will go quickly due to the high cost. We have considered selling off some of his real estate properties so that we have the cash on hand, but I don't want to liquidate everything, and then he would be out of the revenue opportunity. Some of the properties he has more than 50% equity. What are your thoughts on the best way to handle this? Well, that's a great question, Jose, and I bet there's quite a few of us on the line that have either been in that position or will be very shortly. It's something, my mom passed 3 years ago, but she was in a nursing home for a couple of years. And then before that, she was living with my sister, but we were bringing in daytime help to support her. And it's something that you have to look at. Do you use their assets? Do you liquidate assets? And in this case, if you have 50% equity, you're going to want to maybe find somebody, a professional, that can help you look at the alternatives, because you may be able to pull some of that equity out if it's something that you believe has a more opportunity to grow in the future. There are tools that will allow you to get that second mortgage, or maybe there's a way for you to liquidate one piece and be able to salvage the rest of it, because it is expensive, that long-term care, and you want to look and say, how can we best manage this? But again, every day be grateful that you do have assets to work with, because there are so many people out there that are in that stage of life and they haven't prepared for that. They haven't prepared for retirement, and they're finding themselves having to face these same decisions without any option. And so good for you for being a fantastic son, Jose, and good luck to you. But definitely, I wish I could give you the exact answer right now, but without knowing the specific circumstances. And there are, obviously there are reasons that you may want to liquidate some assets rather than others, but I really suggest you find somebody, a professional advisor, because when somebody like me is on and I say, this is what you should do, that's not right, because I don't know your specific circumstances. And I get upset when I see people that are giving specific advice without really understanding the details, because there may very well be an opportunity for you to find a way to employ those assets without selling them, without liquidating them, to be able to increase revenue. Maybe there's an asset that you can find somebody to rent, or it might be, for instance, raw land. I had a friend turn it into storage. So they turn their raw land into an income producing property. So all of those things are options that you should look at and say, what are all my alternatives, and figure out which is the right one for you. And Joanna is in Pennsylvania. Oh, you are? I didn't realize you're in Pennsylvania. Great. All right. So this is second to last question. Hi, Sharon. I have an ongoing debate with my wife. Well, many of us do. Let's see, about my comic book collection. I believe that it's an asset and worth holding on to. My wife thinks they are simply taking up space and does not see the value in me continuing to hold on to them. I would love to know your thoughts on the legitimacy of holding on to collectibles as assets, and if there's some types or categories that you prefer over others. Or can I tell my wife that you agree with me? Oh, lovely. You want me to get in the middle of a marital spat. Sorry about that. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I have a name here. Hi, Sharon. So you wanted to remain anonymous. I know it. I'm not going to specifically answer that question, because I have collectibles. My husband has collectibles. He collects edged weapons, right? So we have them all over our house. I don't look at those as assets. They are, from a standpoint of doing a balance sheet, they have value, but they're not generating revenue. And so when I think about collectibles, I see them as, again, a way to hold wealth, not create wealth. Because you're only going to create wealth if you sell them. And I will tell you, my husband had comic books, and he was so upset when he found out that his father had given them away to Goodwill. Some of them were like really, really valuable. So I feel your pain. And it's something that you might want to look at and have that conversation. But again, that's not a way to make wealth. That's a way to hold your wealth. And obviously, certain collectibles are going to continue to increase in value over time. Others may or may not. And so the question is the value here, or is it on your balance sheet? Because they are assets, but again, you cannot liquidate those very quickly, most often. And so how are they continuing to increase, or have they plateaued, or is that something that you never want to give up because you own them and you value them? And so it's a great way to hold wealth, not necessarily a good way to create wealth. And then Karen Tooley, hello Karen, you asked me a question. You sent a question last night that I just saw for a moment ago. And is it true that are you an asset? Every one of us, yes, you are your own asset. The question is, if you are your only asset, what happens if something happens to you? And so my goal is to help people understand that use your asset to create, build, or buy other assets. And when those other assets start generating revenue, then you can kind of have a little relief knowing that it's not all on you, that your assets are your employees. They are working for you. They're generating the income to take care of you. So as we wrap up today, this has been a great day. I love all these questions. We talk about whether your home is an asset or liability. Again, your home is an expense to you. And so technically, while a bank would list it as an asset, is it really helping you build your wealth? It's actually having you have to pay for it each and every month. And so build your other assets, and then you can have the kind of home that you want. And Peter talking about being an independent sales representative, that comes back to that Henry I've talked about. High earning, not rich yet. You have every opportunity to take that income that you're making and now invest it back into assets. Jonathan, you're talking about whether it should have monthly revenue or long-term. Again, the definition of monthly income versus appreciation, both are important. One is a way to continue building your net worth and continue building asset with that income that's coming in. The other one is a great way to hold your wealth and have it as part of your portfolio. There's nothing wrong with having long-term appreciation as part of your portfolio, but it's not going to help you build your wealth today, this year. So think about that. And then Elise, thank you so much. You're talking about network marketing. It's a great way to start building a business on the side. Those systems, it's low cost entry. Validate the company. Make sure that you think about the training that you're getting. Make sure you love the product and the company. Look at the compensation plan. And then Rodney, talking about as a single dad, what a great opportunity to start a business on the side with your kids. Not only to teach them, but also build that revenue stream and build that business on the side. I have cousins who many years ago had the ability to do the programs at racetracks. And so every season they were there, they were taking care of the programs. And so all the cousins and cousins' friends were there helping them sell the programs. Then they did it for many, many years. And then Jose talking about the long-term care, my heart goes out to you. I know this is such a huge issue for so many people. And again, be thankful that you have assets to think about, but get that advice, get that professional advice to help you make the right decision, because there's so many ways to utilize those assets that might allow you to have that continued growth and appreciation. And then the comic book collection. Again, I wish I could tell you yes or no, and don't go back to your wife and say, I agree with you. You can go back and say, I had the same issue with my husband, but it is, again, are you building wealth or are you holding wealth? And only you can answer that. And only you can pull together your balance sheet to say, how are my assets? Do I need to start working on creating more? Because at the end of the day, assets are very sexy. That no matter where you live, no matter what you speak, what language you speak, wealthy people around the globe are wealthy because they learned how to buy, build, create assets. And those assets generate income for them. And so if something happens to them or to you and you have assets, then your style of living doesn't come to a screech. If you are your only asset and something happens to you, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt. And so please, I implore you, start thinking about sexy assets. Think about building, buying, or creating, whether it be rental real estate, whether it be intellectual property, starting a business, building a business, investing in stocks. All of those things are ways for you to start taking your cash flow and turning it into employees' assets working for you. Thank you so much for being with me today. Have an incredible day. Love you all.